Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started because it's just a bit after 7. So I'm going to call this meeting of the Mount Airy Planning Commission to order, and let's stand and pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We've got some special guests coming tonight, and I noticed they're not quite here, so we're going to jump around a bit. I'm wondering, Andrea, you want to go ahead and give us a Carroll County planning report? Why don't we jump into that?
Did we get a picture of the baby?
Yeah.
I don't know. And you have to show us a picture of your new baby before
Yes, do we
we
have a
let you
picture
speak.
Congratulations.
Hi.
Hi.
So there are a couple of things I wanted to make sure that I hit upon today. First things first, we set forth our master plan. It was adopted, I'm sorry, not adopted, it was approved by our Planning Commission December 31st. And it went to our Board of Commissioners, and they have until, I believe, about March 2nd to make some sort of decision, or it is automatically approved. So I
Okay.
just wanted to let you know that. Today, there was a letter that was sent, I believe, to Monica, all about our water and sewer master plan. As you know, this is a process I have been working on for a long time. This is still the update that we started in 2010. So what's going to happen now is that we have been working on, so on July 2nd, I got a 14-page letter from MDE with comments, and they partially approved, partially denied, and partially modified our plan. Who knew they could do all of that? So they did all those things. We've been in contact with all the municipalities that they have requested us to modify any part of their document. Mount Airy was not part of that, so I have not had to do anything, which is great. So you guys are good. And so what we're doing now is we're making those adjustments. By the end of, hopefully by March, we'll be able to give them back all of the comments that they've requested and ask them to for final approval, and not have to go through the whole 180-day process. We're making changes. We're walking a really fine line between doing changes to the document but not changing the document enough that we'll have to come before all the planning commissions again, like we did back in November of last year. So that's that. So
Andrea,
Monica,
before you go on, can I just interrupt you for a second?
Sure.
Could you and I speak with regard to the water sewer master plan? I don't believe that our adopted master plan would change anything, but just to be sure,
well,
was there
absolutely.
an opportunity
No,
for
absolutely.
that?
And if we review it and we feel that there's something that's different than what we proposed, I'm going to ask that we save it for an amendment.
Okay, that's
Um,
fine.
Otherwise, it opens up the door for a whole lot of,
Good to know.
for new process. But as soon
Okay.
as this plan's adopted, we're going to open it up for amendments again.
Thank you.
We had to
That-
draw a line in
okay.
the sand at some point,
I-
stopping updating and
I
everything.
understand that.
So,
Okay, thank
but
you very
sure.
much.
Also, another update, I'm now wearing a different hat, but I am also on the board of the Heart of the Civil War Heritage Area. And one of the things that is coming up is we have our Maryland Heritage Area Authority grants. And this is just a reminder to Melissa that the intent to apply is January 30th, if you still plan on doing a project. I think that may be everything that I have to say. Does anybody have any questions about anything? Yes.
Yeah, 2 questions. The master plan, just in general, the master plan as it relates to the surrounding areas in Mount Airy, could you just comment what it says for the commission and for the audience? Any highlights, any important points, anything we should be aware of, annexations, anything that you can think of that we might be interested in or concerns us?
I came before you probably about in November with a specific map that had due. I can bring that again at our next meeting.
Okay.
but there really wasn't a whole lot of change that occurred in your environs, in the area surrounding Mount Airy. Just to reiterate something that I talked about months ago, we did look at how the land has currently actually developed. So we had our future land use and things like that represents that now on the map. So if something is developed in very larger lots, it might be very low density residential when it might have been conservation in the past. So there are some changes, but what it does, it reflects what's currently on the ground.
Gillis Falls is still in there as future water source?
I'm not sure if it's in the, I know that it is in the water and sewer plan. We always keep long-range options as a long-range option because when you take them out, it becomes nearly impossible to put it back in again. And we can never say that never is never. But as far as it being in the master plan, I'm not entirely certain.
Okay. Second question, the 14-page comments that MDE sent, again, just for reference for our purposes, what kind of things was MDE? I know we came out clean on that one, good.
Yes.
No.
To be completely honest, the majority of what was said had nothing to do with the water and sewer master plan. When reading it, it was a hodgepodge of comments. It was a very interesting letter. They had technical issue with a couple of municipalities that we're working with. Talked a lot about individual municipalities who need to do capacity management plans, for instance, which doesn't have anything to do with our water and sewer plan. Once a system reaches...
Capacity management for growth or for water and sewer capacity?
For water and sewer capacity. Once, I was actually just about to say that. When a system reaches 85 or 80%, they have to do a capacity management plan to show that I believe how they are mitigating being so close to being at capacity. And there were a few towns who needed to do it who hadn't done it yet.
Right.
So it was things of that nature that you're kind of like, this doesn't have anything to do with it.
Last year when we redid our water capacity numbers, we sent a letter to MDE asking for comment, and MDE said, looks good, we're very conservative. So, other than water capacity issues, any other things? Did they bring things out about sewage plants, treatment, things like that?
There are, in some other municipalities, it had to do with different numbers that we were using, that they wanted us to use other numbers, so we've come together and had conversations about why we used what we used. But the majority of things just had to be clarifications. Okay. I think that we're probably the closest we've been to coming together and doing everything that they wanted us to do, but we'll see how that goes.
Thank you.
Great.
Anything else?
Any other questions for Andrew?
All right.
Andrea, are there any special meetings coming up in the future that we should plan for, prepare for, clear a schedule for?
Yes. Thank you. I love prompts.
Sure.
I appreciate it very much. Bill had asked in the past, while we were working on our master plan, that we do a joint meeting. Thank you, Heather. I'm sorry.
No
we were just talking about this the other day. So what our planning commission wants to do is twofold. Okay. First thing, they want to have like a kickoff meeting in March or April. With all of the planning commissions from all the municipalities, thinking it would be really helpful for everybody to get together and listen to how somebody approaches a certain topic, or meetings times and how their meetings go, and just offering an opportunity for everybody to get together individually. Then they also, I'm not sure if there's a time yet, but they also want to meet with Mount Airy one-on-one, if the planning commission still is interested in doing that. And Heather said that she would kind of take the lead on this, I believe, so that she can kind of have you guys as the centerpiece, and then Carroll County and Frederick County come together and see, we could have a joint planning commission.
And along with our mayor and town council.
Yes, mayor and town council as well.
Alex Yao and I have had some discussion about that, and there's interest on both sides to kick that off.
Okay. Heather, did you get a chance to talk to Frederick County? Are they?
Not yet. I have not.
Okay.
The idea was to initially start a dialogue with Carol, and then Alex in part might be part of the reach out to Frederick, but we would build on the initial dialogue that we were able to establish with Carol.
Yeah, our planning commission is more than happy to do in whatever format that you'd like to do it. If you wanted to do, like, for instance, just Carol and then work, and then just Frederick and then getting them together, I'm sure they would be amenable to whatever you want. All right,
cool.
thank you.
Good.
And Bill?
Yes.
Mr. Menashe.
I see. Isaac, are you expecting any other members of IDA?
I
Or?
find out that I'm solo tonight.
You're solo tonight?
I
Okay.
apologize for
Oh, not a problem. Well, then what we'll do is, we'll go ahead, we're going to lead off with that discussion. Since we have officially now completed our update of our master plan, and two of the remaining elements that we wanted to accomplish outside of getting that blessed was to draft two new zoning areas, an OPE and an MXD. And I don't know how long that IDA and representatives of the town have been in discussion. I know it's been a while, but we thought it would be fruitful to have representation from IDA come and share with us your vision, your goals, what you hope to accomplish with an OPE for our community, perhaps in other locations around the county. So that becomes a frame of reference for us as we're working on our language. So we're here to listen.
Oh, wow, okay. Well, I'll do my best.
And we also have some representation from our council, and we have our mayor here as well, so we're all here together. Yeah.
I'll start by,
I'm sorry, could we have you at the podium too, because it's
Yeah, that'd be
recorded on
great.
camera?
That's
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
That's
Great.
true.
Thank you.
I'll start by giving you a small history of the IDA and what its purpose is, and then moving to Harrison Leisure and perhaps talk about the most recent project that the IDA was involved in, to give you an illustration as to what to expect from it. IDA was formed, every municipality in Maryland may form an industrial development authority if it chooses, and and Carroll County did that in 1980. And it's a body that's appointed by the commissioners. It's a separate corporation, and it's charged with promoting economic development in the county, doing things that help to retain and attract businesses and things for the general welfare of the economy of Carroll County. It has 5 members, and it meets once a month, and it's subject to the open meetings laws, and it follows some of the regulations of government and some of the regulations of private industry. So it's a not-for-profit organization, but it's generally there to promote economic development. It's not to make a profit. So if you look at how industrial development takes place, you recognize that why there's such scarce industrial development land ready for developers to move in and or businesses to develop, and that is, it takes an exorbitant amount of money to purchase the land and to bring it to go through the processes of subdividing and getting the infrastructure in there and having it ready for a business that wants to purchase a piece of property and move in. Businesses aren't there when they want to locate to your community. They don't want to go through a 2-year process, a 4-year process before they can break ground or something of that nature. So the site development plan is a lengthy process. So what the IDA has done is it has purchased industrial land. It has gone through that process and brought land into a state of, it has subdivided the land and has built the infrastructure and all the things necessary to have finished lots ready for businesses that wish to locate to Carroll County. And after going through all that, obviously they don't want to attract businesses that don't benefit the community, that don't have high-paying jobs, that don't have a big tax base. So their interest is to have a company that will be beneficial to the tax base and to the community, and not a burden. So they don't do commercial, which have generally had more lower paying jobs. They tend to do industrial development that attracts higher paying jobs. It has done the most two recent projects that the IDA has done is many years ago it did the Air Business Park, which is the area around the airport, and most recently it did the area across the airport, the Westminster Technology Park. And that's the Westminster Technology Park is a 64-acre facility across the street from the airport. And it acquired the property. It first of all acquired the property in partnership with the Department of Economic Development of the state, and was undertaking to develop the land with the state. But the state, we wanted more autonomy, and so we purchased our partner out of the deal, and and I'm saying we, I'm only their attorney. So, but I've been with them for such a long time, I almost feel like I speak that way. But I'm not a member, I'm not a voting member, but I take care of preparing the documents and making sure that things, what they want, gets implemented. So with regard to the Westminster Technology Park, it was a 64-acre park. They acquired it, they subdivided the lots, they did the infrastructure, they entered into a public works agreement with the city of Westminster. They did everything that the city requested of them, and to bring the park to ready finished lots. And then it marketed the lots. And the first purchaser of the lot with a vendor who was purchasing the lot for General Dynamics Robotic Systems. And they purchased a lot and placed a 40,000 square foot building, and General Dynamics occupied the building for a period of time, and that was like a 4 or 5 acre parcel. Then the next tenant that came in is Knorr Brake, and that was and each of these things take several years just from start to finish. Knorr Brake was located in Westminster. It had several hundred employees, but it outgrew its facility and was looking to relocate. And we were able to negotiate terms with them that they relocated to Westminster Technology Park. They bought 30 acres and were able to break ground in about 4 to 5 months from the date of the contract. And in so doing, they built a beautiful, beautiful facility, state-of-the-art, ergonomic, green, solar panels on the roof, beautiful. When you drive along 97, you can actually see through the building. The windows are so located so that the light goes through, and I'm particularly proud of it because they did such a fantastic job. They even wanted to do more. They wanted to bury the utilities, telephone lines, and in front of the building. Obviously, the costs were prohibitive, and so they didn't do that. And it would. I'm sorry. Okay, thank you. My notes. I came in from my notes. So anyway, they built the facility. They're paying. They bought the land. They're paying some loans that we were able to provide for them, and they're static. They manufacture Knorr brakes for trains, brakes and air conditioning units, and they're a totally clean facility. And you walk in there, it's incredible. The machines, the parts get washed, the water gets recycled. Those are for the service areas, but the new machines they're a German company, and the metro and all those trains that require doors, they require air conditioning units and require brakes are manufactured at that facility. And their whole upper mezzanine is all engineers, and the bottom area of the facility is manufacturers, the date that they broke ground, they had a grand opening and they took a tour of the facility. But that is an illustration of most recent companies that we dealt with. With regard to Harrison Leisure,
Can I ask, because I'm unclear on one or two things. The funding, so when the Westminster Tech Park, the funding was provided both to acquire the land. The funding was provided for both the state and the county?
and yes,
And then the funding to develop the infrastructure in the park, to make it ready, to make the lots ready, where did that funding come from?
county.
The county? And then when you landed the brake company, tax credits and different things were worked out, or how does that usually work?
Well, the deal that we worked with Kenor is we sold them the land at a discount. We sold them the land at fair market value, $140,000 an acre, and we provided a loan to them to purchase the property. We took back the mortgage, and a portion of the loan they have to pay back regardless, and a portion of the loan gets deferred for a period of time. And after 10 years, if they have so many employees, then it gets deferred again. And after so many years, I think for 20 years altogether, if at the end of the 20 years they've reached so many employees and been and retained the premises, then that second portion is forgiven. So.
Yeah, all standard practices that municipalities, states use across the country in
But
order to
it's
foster
not
economic
just,
development.
yeah, I mean, it's, well, I don't know if I call it standard practice, but,
This one has accountability. Usually they don't.
yeah, I think this is,
Not unusual.
yeah, well,
It's rare.
I challenge you to tell me
Sounds
another one
unusual to me.
recently around here.
Thanks.
Most of the time they throw money at them.
Oh, okay,
Okay. What I'm
Bechtel
trying to say.
recently defected from Maryland, went to Virginia,
Yeah.
and I think that's a case where Virginia perhaps threw money.
Okay.
So,
Right,
okay.
right, right,
and
but that's different than this,
You
because
Got it.
there's no accountability in those situations.
Yeah,
Got
there
it.
there are
Okay, okay.
triggers, and if they don't meet the triggers, then they have to pay the second
Yeah,
loan.
thank you.
And so there's no, I don't think there was any tax write-offs.
Yeah, thank you.
But what's really important is that they're a quality employer. They're happy, and the county's happy, and the city's happy. And they approved the tax base, so it's a successful venture. General Dynamics, I have to be honest, I mean, I'm not here to misrepresent anything. General Dynamics occupied our facility for a long period of time. They purchased, they leased the property from the vendor, but they went out of business. And that line of their company, because they were driven by defense contracts. So even though maybe 10 years or so they were there, they're no longer there. But the building is there and it's attracting another tenant or another purchaser. So anyway, that's the way that some things are a little bit more successful than others. That land sold at fair market value, so there were no incentives and there's no problems. There was no loss on the part of the IDA. And really, what the IDA is doing with Harrison Leisure is trying to do the same thing. In that it acquired the land from the county, and it's charged with developing that land, promoting the economic development of it in a fashion that is both sensitive to the environment, to the community, and benefits them. And we've been trying to negotiate a resolution that does that. And hopefully we reach that to some degree. There is some significant water wells on the property that it will be conveying to the town to be used to service the park, and the residual land water to be used by the municipality. There is a large area of property that's going to be conveyed as a parkland, and the rest will be developed in well, no, there'll be a portion that's to be retained for future development because we don't have any plans for it right now. And then the balance of 128 acres will be the industrial park. Now, we're not, you have to understand, as in the case of Westminster Technology Park, let me interject something. There is very few areas, if any, in Carroll County that an employer can come in and say, we want 15 acres, finished lots to build something on. There's nothing. The largest is 11 acres and we own it, okay? So anybody that comes in, that's like a Kenora Break or something like that, Kenora wanted 30 acres. And the reason they wanted 30 acres was they wanted for their current needs and for future expansion. If they're gonna be doubling their 200,000 square foot facility eventually. So that's what, I mean, they wanted both, and we were able to accommodate them. But if a company wants to come in, they're gonna look for things like water, sewer, and expansion, and access, and things like that, and they wanna do it quickly. So the investment that we are doing is not, we're not going to throw that investment away. We're going to, this is the inventory. This is what we're reaping. So we want to retain it and dispense it judiciously. With Harrison Lightship, we're not also planning to utilize every square foot for facilities. I think there's a I don't, Jack Lyman should be telling you this because he's got the figures down, but if there's a formula that says a developer would want 28% coverage of square footage of the property in buildings and something of that nature, we're probably doing about half that, okay? So that there's a lot more green space within the 128 acre park. We're taking into account, in developing the zoning, we've tried to take into account both the town's needs and the industrial development of the employers that are the prospects' needs. So, and we've tried to, and we recognize also that you have a very strong desire to monitor what kind of growth takes place there and to regulate it. And we're sensitive to that. It's just, we're not trying to avoid that, but we don't want it to be any more than it needs to be.
All right. Questions? Go ahead, sure.
How many square feet of space does the IDA expect to net out of the industrial land, as you have said? Well, no, that was the future. If I'm not mistaken, 128 was the future you're going to hold for the future?
No. 128 is
Okay,
gonna
how many square feet do you envision building on that?
Okay, I don't have that number. The reason I don't have that number is because that's the economic development aspect of it. And I didn't know what I was walking into here, so I would have been happy to do that. No, not that it's hostile or anything, but I can get it for you, I just don't have it. And Jack Lively does.
You mentioned that you have some prospects. Without divulging any specific companies, can you give the town a sense of businesses? You mentioned a brake company and some other General Dynamics company. What kind of prospects do you have for this particular project?
I didn't say we had prospects.
I thought you said you tailored the zoning
Yes.
to the prospects that you were.
Yeah, in terms of saying we want this kind of business to be developed, these are the types of businesses that we are asking in the zone to be permitted, employment campus. Okay. But I can give you, we've been approached by healthcare providers, we've been approached by engineering firms, things like that. I don't move their facility.
And what size facility is that again?
It's over 200,000 square feet. And they have 300 employees, 284. Now, don't hold me to the numbers, because
Just curious.
that's not my, I'm not a bean counter, but it's,
I know.
the facility is, you should go drive by it. It's across the street from Route 97. And it is, they have a cafeteria on site for their employees. They have walking trails around the facility. They have outside picnic areas for their employees. They're extremely, the employees really want to work there. It's a good facility.
One last question.
Yeah.
You had said that the IDA, Industrial Development Authority, focuses on industrial type projects. Then you went on to say, we don't do commercial. Yet when I read the ordinance, all I see is traditional commercial across the whole thing. So can you explain
Sure.
the difference there?
Yeah.
Here it is, here. So that's GD.
What I'm trying to say
Is
is
probably
the
this
Industrial Development Authority,
That's right.
it does not try to attract or to
No,
help
they
assist
don't want houses.
in the location of commercial enterprises. Like, we're not, the IDA is not going to deal with a Walmart or Kresge's or IDA, no,
How about an Applebee's?
no, we don't deal with now, I should say no to Applebee's, I don't know.
That was sort of a joke.
Yeah, but no, we're not trying to, this is not something, the commercial portion of society can take care of itself. There's such a, they're willing to pay so much per square foot that supports itself. What I'm saying, I forgot the rest of the question.
You answered it. Thank you.
So you're saying those types of businesses generate lower paying jobs?
No, I'm not gonna go out on that limb, although,
Well, no, you already did.
Employers that.
yeah, what I'm trying to say is, the commercial businesses are willing to pay significant amounts of money for the land that they're gonna be locating on, and as such, developers can buy property that's zoned commercially, develop it and sell it to them, and there's an ample supply of commercial property available.
I do have one more question.
It's not town.
Now, go ahead, I'll go ahead.
It's not even
If
town
this is, you had talked, I don't remember the lot size, you said there's only one lot available, one industrial lot available in the county, it's 11 acres, and the IDA owns it.
No, okay,
You can restate, but that's the gist.
I said if you wanted a large amount of land, there is not available. a
Okay.
large amount of land.
Well, I beg to differ because the town has, I gotta say, probably at least 100 acres of industrial land that's been zoned for 30 years. And yet, the IDA, the county, has never really come down and solicited to get that land, which is probably more appropriate for those types of uses, made any kind of pitch to get that done.
Is it contiguous?
It's in town, it's already zoned.
Well, I know,
But again,
it's all
as
together.
economic development, oh, yeah. As economic development,
Watersville, this is it.
why are we all of a sudden having this at Harrison Liger when the town's had industrial land
Yeah,
for 30 some odd acres that's been available, it's been attempted to be developed numerous times. So I'm just curious why all of a sudden now we want to put industrial land there just because the county has to
Let me,
end up with it in a lawsuit.
let me address this in two ways. First of all, the term industrial land really is misleading, okay? By that is, that's really holdover from prior language. Employment campus or something of that nature is really what we're talking about here. The reason we use industrial land is because that's what prior zoning classified as. Secondly, is what I'm talking about is finished lots. There's a difference between a piece of property that's zoned commercial industrial and one that has gone through the review process, through things
I'm
like.
pretty familiar with that.
Well, I need to make my point, please.
Okay.
Through traffic studies,
Yeah.
through staff review, which is subdivision advisory council review, all the different agencies, then sign agreements, build roads, infrastructure. One of the things that's left for us to do at Westminster Technology Park is installation, road improvements to Route 97. Route 97 was, the city said, we'll let you do this. We'd like you to install a traffic signal at 97. And IDA agreed to do that. But in so doing, we're the only entity that agreed to do improvements to 97. We posted money. We agreed to pay for it before anything was done. There are other developers that have been allowed to proceed, but none of them have put any money towards those improvements. We're undertaking those improvements now, anticipated to cost $3.5 million. Okay, and the reason we're doing it now is because the city did not want it done earlier because there was no need. The point being is, those are the kinds of things that no other developer will do, and are really so expensive that they're out of the price market for those developers. I don't know why the land that you speak of. I'm not the real estate person, so I don't know why, but I would venture to say those lots are not finished. Number one, and the cost of finishing the lot may exceed the cost of purchasing the lot about 4 or 5 times. So it's really a significant cost. So I don't know why. I do know that the IDA received the land from the county without having to buy it. So that's a significant cost saving. But that, if you have to buy the land as well and do the infrastructure alone is going to be so expensive, it's ridiculous. You know, to me, and forgive me, but this is a no-brainer for me in the sense of this. The IDA is going to spend tons of money developing the land, getting it ready, and marketing it, and bringing quality employers in here and helping them get it settled. And the tax benefits are going to inure towards the town. There's no profit to the IDA. We're going to take a loss in doing this. There's a loss factor associated.
So would you classify that as a competitive edge?
Yes, we're trying to make it, we're trying to incentivize, we're trying to bring a business that would not ordinarily locate here that will be beneficial to the community to locate here.
You said that more breaks, I'm sorry, Mary.
Go ahead.
You said that they had 208 employees, approximately.
You know, I did the agreements, and they were done 5 or 6 years ago, so I don't recall exactly the number, but it's several hundred, if not 300.
Do you know how many of them now reside in Carroll County or in the town of Westminster?
No, I don't know the answer to that, but I will tell you this. Remember that the president of the company lives in Westminster and wanted to stay there. And I think that he wanted to retain the workforce that he had. They were in Westminster. They were at a different location.
Roxanne?
I'm done.
That's a good question.
But no loss either.
Does anybody else like to interrupt the mayor?
Get in line.
Actually, Bob touched on, you said land inventory, the largest parcel was 11 acres. Is that it in Carroll County, or were you on it?
This is not my area of expertise. Okay, I'm communicating to you what has been told to me. And what has been told to me is there's no large tract of land that's ready for development in Westminster, in Carroll County. We own the largest parcel.
So if somebody was interested,
Yeah,
would be the name.
you'd be the game, yeah.
Thank you for, I'm sorry.
And you are, the reason that Harrison Lightyear is so good is because it's close to 70.
Can I clarify one thing? Because you are sort of unintentionally misrepresenting let me finish my statement here. Because I know for a fact there is plenty of commercial type land throughout the county, ready today if a business wants to move in. Okay, commercial, okay. So are we talking commercial, or are we talking industrial? Because you know,
We're talking
Okay, that's not the same thing. So for employment, there is the exchange, the Eldersburg Exchange, which has, I would guess, 50, 60,000 square feet built and available, unoccupied. Sykesville's had the Warfield Complex for 15 years available with infrastructure for the last 8 years.
I don't know where you're getting your figures from. I've been intimately associated with
None of that is industrial land,
No, I know Warfield.
and it's been available for a long, long time. So those are just two.
When you say available.
Twin Edge Business Park here in town still has.
What's your point?
Can I, excuse me,
My
Can I
point is
suggest-
I'm trying to make a
excuse me, just-
differentiation between
Mr.
what the
Trainer.
IDA's vision is and what I think local business owners are interested in.
right, but Mr. Scranton, if you just give me just a moment, please. So the purpose this evening is for the Planning Commission to understand what IDA's position is. Not necessarily for a debate between local business and, so I understand you have concerns, but I don't believe this is the forum for that. I just want to make clarification. So all right, so.
I appreciate the question.
Again, it's from a planning, this is a planning commission meeting, not an economic development. So the sorts of questions that you have are either more appropriate at a county level or perhaps at a town council.
I think the differ based
I
on the
disagree.
ordinance that's being considered.
I disagree as well.
There's no ordinance right now on the table.
I'm sorry, zoning. The zoning.
There's no ordinance right now, no OPE ordinance on the table just yet. There's no,
was introduced at a work session already.
it's not on the subject tonight. So I'm just saying that we're wasting.
That's what the whole point was.
But that's not on the, right, so right now, it's just, the IDA is telling the planning commission what their vision is. So the planning commission can gather information and maybe perhaps further refine the ordinance. When the ordinance comes up for discussion, that perhaps will be the time to bring up those points. Otherwise, I don't think we're gonna kind of get anywhere, we're just gonna start doing this.
One thing I'd like to interject, though, is that I think it's important for us to understand where the IDA is going in the future and to understand what their, the outlook is, because in order for us to be able to come up with the zoning for that area, I need to understand better.
I absolutely agree, but it's.
So his questions, though, drive to the center of that. So as long as we don't get too detracted from what we're trying to do here, I think an overall high-level vision is beneficial.
Okay, I have my questions. Thank you for clarifying.
Sorry, Mayor.
You're doing great, and thank you all for interrupting as well. Industrial did concern me a little bit, but thank you for clarifying. Could you coordinate with Heather to tell us where some of these industrial sites are, where these buildings and these other employment campuses are? Because I think that would be more attractive to them here. And it did, when I hear industrial, I start thinking smokestacks.
Okay.
And I know that's antiquated.
Well, you mean in Carroll County?
Yeah, the ones that you developed, that you spoke,
Okay.
that you're very proud of.
At the airport. They're at the airport.
Okay.
I'm familiar.
The older one is the Air Business Park. That's on one side, and the IDA. This was in the 1980s. Okay, so it was when Carroll County was still young and there was nothing there. They acquired that land and developed it and had restrictive covenants and tried to govern it, and then at some point it sold the property, the residual property that it
I
owned.
was interested in newer,
Okay.
they would reflect more newer designs.
Yeah,
and-
the most recent park that we're doing is the Air Business Park. Is the Westminster Technology Park, which does not have a sign in front of it. It's right across the street. And there you will see two buildings, the Knorr Building and the General Dynamics Building. And we have residual land available for to attract other businesses of the remaining land.
So that's only industrial, but it's really an employment campus. That's
It's
what I
actually,
wanted to say.
yeah, it's actually zoned planned industrial. And what we're doing there is each municipality has its own zoning And we're not, we recognize that what we want to do is one part of the zoning that the town may want to impose on a district. You may want to have broader uses than what we want to have in our park. So we are limiting, we're just concerned with what we can do as long as it's permitted. We don't want it to be not permitted, and we don't want it to be a conditional use or special exception that requires further review. So we want something that is general, that would meet the economic demands. Things like no outside storage, minimum land to building ratios, things that are attractive. Look at Westminster Technology Park. Yes.
Is there, I think what would be really helpful, has the IDA provided the Planning Commission a list of its preferences? Because really, that's a starting point, right?
Okay. Well,
We've been going back and forth.
Working this for 1,000 years.
Right, I understand we've been going back and forth, but has the IDA produced do we have a comprehensive list? The IDA says, here are our preferences, so that's the
we've
beginning.
been afforded the opportunity to comment on them, and
Right.
they took, I believe what happened was Carroll County has an employment campus zone. It's a floating zone. It's in the zone book, but it's not on land. There's no place that's zoned that way. They developed it, but they never placed it on any ground. So they had it in their book, and that formed the skeleton for this. We said, here, look at this. See this is something that's been vetted by by planning commissions, by businesses, and was deemed to be a viable thing. And use that as your skeleton for building your zone. And I think it went back and forth that way. And some things were added, some things we said we find objectionable. And I will speak more, I'm more prepared to speak to the process, okay, rather than the actual uses, because the uses are more of economic development's forte, and that's really, I'll do my best, but that's not my strength. I don't know what businesses are attracted or not attracted to these things, because that's something that economic development deals with all the time. But I can tell you the process and how it should be prepared and undergone so as to afford you a review and regulatory authority without being onerous. And to that end, the IDA is willing to do whatever it takes to accomplish it. I am speaking a little bit. I have to put a caveat in here in that I was not aware of the real breadth of the discussion that was going to take place today. I really should have brought this up with the board more, so as maybe to have a board member here. I understood that Frank Dursbaugh was going to be here on Monday night when this was already scheduled, but he's on vacation tonight. And so he's on vacation today, and so I don't think he could come tonight, but I don't speak for the IDA in that regard. And so I'm trying to not appear, not to blow anybody off, but I'm trying to do my best and to speak on behalf of them, but understanding that there's a little disconnect there. So I'll leave it at that.
So there's no other campus area or parcels elsewhere in the county right now that IDA is looking at for this kind of emphasis?
Okay. No, there are others.
Okay.
It's just they're not in finished lots. We work with Fuchs. Fuchs is a spice company. That's another German company that is locating in North Carolina Business Park that we own. This is a piece of property that was acquired across 482 and Route 30. And Fuchs is a spice company that was located in Baltimore County and was looking to relocate and is going to be building its facility in the North Carroll Business Park and is purchasing 20 acres. That land is a raw land, and they're able, we're assisting them to go through the process of the site plan review and engineering and things of that nature. But we've been under contract for over a year with them while they go through the process. And so that's another illustration, but the town is involved. The property was in the town. The town is reviewing the site plan. The town has input throughout the whole process. The town planning commission gave them the approval. You know, it's not, and they agreed to purchase the land if they got all the approvals that are necessary to erect their structure, and that's what they're going through the process now.
Do you have a sense of how fast you plan on developing the Harrison LaShire property?
Talk about prawns, thank you. Okay, this is a many-year takedown project. We plan to, the first thing that will have to happen is there's the process of getting annexed, of getting the land approved for subdivision, and then doing the infrastructure. And that's going to take a few years. And then there's going to be, I'd say, 20 years in the takedown of the land. It'll take 20 years to absorb that much of the real estate. So we're not going to be building buildings and selling them as fast as we can, or selling the lots as fast as you can. It's not most developers, when they do this, they need to sell the product in order to recoup the funds, and so you end up with having less than desirable tenants or purchasers. But the advantage you have here is that you don't have a seller that's going to do that. Now, that's not to say that if a quality developer wants to buy a larger chunk and develop it themselves, remember, we're just doing the preliminary subdivision. Every project, every site that's sold has to come before you for site plan approval, and has to meet your guidelines, and you get another review of it. So you're going to, this is just the gateway to just start the process.
Can I tag on to actually Judy's, would you allow that for just a second? Because you are able to speak as to the process, and this is an exciting relationship for everybody. We've never worked with the Industrial Development Authority, so we're learning. How will the IDA continue on over the 20 years? How will that relationship, is that something where the IDA will be involved through the duration of all of the development of the lots, or can you help us envision that?
The IDA still owns the land at Westminster Technology Park, the remaining parcels of the park.
Okay.
The IDA sells each of those things to individual businesses that come in. So it is the landowner and the master developer, so to speak. So the same thing will be here, is envisioned here. The IDA is going to have this as a inventory of land for businesses.
So they would come through the IDA?
Actually, not necessarily. Really, the primary driving force is economic development, the Office of Economic Development in the county. Businesses seeking to locate contact the Office of Economic Development and say, do you have any this, do you have any of that, we're looking for this, can you do it? And they then channel prospects to the IDA and work with the prospects and coordinate with the IDA to assist that entity either to look at the property, see if it's suitable for them. And if we've had businesses come in here that the IDA is told that they don't want to sell the land to.
Okay, so I'm sorry,
No,
so
go
the
ahead.
town, the relationship that the town of Mount Airy is building with the Industrial Development Authority will continue as all 128 acres develops?
Okay, at some point.
It wouldn't, like, you mentioned that if a developer were to come in and wanted to buy a chunk of land, is that just maybe a larger parcel? Or how?
Yeah, I don't think any developer is gonna take 128 acres.
Okay, so the intent is that we're establishing this relationship with the IDA, and it would continue?
Yeah, let me, I just remembered another project, Liberty Exchange.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that.
Okay.
Mhm.
I said Eldersburg, I meant Liberty.
Yeah.
Okay. Liberty Exchange, we worked with St. John's Properties.
Right.
There we helped them in different ways, but the relationship still exists, and they have certain obligations still, and they had planned to take down and to their inventory is, that's really, best in, there was a, Liberty Exchange is one that has potential for continuing to grow and promote and things of that nature, but it's, we just assisted in some fashion there.
Okay, and was that the IDA's property, or no?
It was a private ownership, and we assisted in helping with the road improvements. So if they.
The turn lanes and the signalization?
Okay. Do you think that, I have two questions. One is, would the IDA be involved in any financing, like you did with the park the Nord that just came in and everything else? Would you be open to those kind of things? And two, would the IDA be open to, we talked about creating like a master plan design for that property. So kind of designing out what we would look like so that we could almost attract who we would want versus just anybody coming in, so we could have a master plan for that.
Well, what was your first question?
Finance, money.
I'm sure that the IDA would not, I don't know, I can't tell you definitively, but it's not something that they would be averse to.
Okay. That's fine.
Under the proper
Right.
Circumstances. We initially approached this project by having a master plan for the whole, trying to develop a master plan for it, and doing that, and having one large parcel, and having the IDA be the master developer and selling, and just sort of like having a giant shopping center concept where businesses bought pads or things of that nature.
Right.
That was not going to be feasible to accomplish economically. It was going to cost. It would cost too much money upfront to affect that kind of thing. Because I know that. Well, you're asking for a. I'll tell you what they were thinking of. They were thinking of designing the buildings for each of the areas in question, but that's something that would not be built for many years, and that was just too costly.
You would start it, Rob.
This is my,
Yeah.
this is the segue to the question I wanted to ask. That, so you don't intend to do a master plan for the 120 acres. So,
I didn't say that.
I thought you just did.
No, I said,
That's what I thought.
okay. I said we had thought of developing the whole parcel ourselves, okay, and we will develop a concept plan, okay, a concept plan for the whole park. The concept plan is a concept plan, which will say we want to have several lots, and these are what they look like, and these are where the possible locations for buildings are. It's a subdivision plan where roads will be demarked and parking will be designated and
It's a
infrastructure.
general idea.
Yeah.
I mean, you could put berms in there, or anything you want to do to
Yeah,
shield it,
yeah.
you know where these are gonna be, you just don't know what the buildings will look like.
Right.
Right,
okay.
so that leads to my next question. What, do you have a vision for the average size lot that you're thinking there?
that's, I don't.
My fear
Yeah.
is that we're just gonna end up with another business park like we already have.
Which is
And
what?
Twin Arch, so you have 1 acre, 1 to 2 acre lots with
Okay.
commercial buildings on them. And,
Okay, don't use the word commercial in my presence.
well, I'm just gonna call it like I see it. I mean, it says commercial building, so I'm just gonna call it the way I see it, so.
Okay, well,
You can call it industrial or
Okay.
employment all you want, but
okay.
let
We're-
me
okay.
finish my question. So
When you-
the
no,
master
no,
plan,
no,
you're going
no,
through a
no,
concept
no,
plan?
No, I'm gonna tell you, when you talk about commercial, I'm thinking of a Macy's, I'm thinking of,
It's not coming down there.
Super Fresh, I'm thinking of something of that nature, Wegmans, anything, it's reputable, but it's not Target. Target paid over $1 million an acre for their parcel in Westminster. $1 million. Olive Garden in the corner of Westminster and 140 and where the McDonald's is. That site, they put underground stormwater facilities, underground, on a 1 acre lot, because the market was bare. And that lot sold for $1 million. Commercial ventures like that can afford that. Places like Kenora Break is not gonna pay $1 million an acre, okay? And so they're not gonna come. But they're the ones that are gonna be employing people like software engineers and fair paying jobs. And that's the ones that we're trying to attract, and that's not commercial. Okay, now there might be some commercial component, a little deli to serve them food or something, some service, a dry cleaner or something, and there will be some commercial, yeah. But every park requires some amenities, because the employers don't want their people driving an hour to go somewhere to get something to eat, or they want to have some facilities in there. And most of these zones permit a percentage of the commercial, to be a commercial aspect.
In a commercial setting, think of a shopping center, okay, and you have one big store that's the draw, Weiss. We got Weiss in here. And then we got all these little slots that are the jewelry store, the dry cleaners, the Mexican restaurant. Commercial or industrial is not like that. Okay, I want to put a 10,000 square foot machine shop. Okay, and you're not going to fit that into a pre-made, prefab little block. Okay, I want, some land, a little bit of land around the parking lot, I want this, I want that. So it's totally different than commercial, and you really have to get out of the commercial mentality. And Twin Arch is more commercial than it is industrial. Now, there's some industrial places up there.
And there's a significant difference in traffic flow from a commercial versus an industrial.
That's a very good point.
Okay.
I just make another
Yeah.
point. I'm with Rob. If we were just developing for the sake of more development, I certainly personally wouldn't support it at all. One of the things to look at with this is we are getting a large central regional park, potentially. I'm not saying that still makes the deal. I'm just saying that's something to look at. It's just not development. Plus, we're getting much needed water to finish out Main Street. There's some build-outs down there.
And the park.
In the park, that's what I said.
To follow up on what the mayor just said, though, Mr. Scranton, you said the fear, what's the fear?
Well, there's two things. The last work session, you weren't there. It was equated that the buildings and lots would be similar to Twin Arch building park. Correct me if I'm wrong, but remember the IDA said that's what it would look like. And I was going out on a limb thinking that you all probably didn't want Twin Arch Business Park looking type project sitting on 27. Just going out on a limb there. The second thing, and I think Tony Folletta said it the best. He said that this was sold originally as an employment campus before all these commercial uses ended up in here. There's no limitations to any of these commercial uses. So,
When you say
let me finish.
manufacturing, you mean?
So the fear is that, and Tony said it best, that this was supposed to be an employment campus, and I think when this whole thing started, everybody was under the impression that this would augment the community. It wouldn't cannibalize existing businesses or other property owners and compete with those. And I think that's what the selling feature for a lot of people in this community would be. As a commercial property owner here on Main Street, I read this list, I'm very concerned.
Right, so let me just read, from a council perspective, let me just reiterate what I heard, just make sure I understand. Your concern is that, again, the OPE is just a draft. It's
Sure,
a working, a living document that hasn't been, extensively gone through, right? Your fear is that this Harrison LaShire may turn out to be something like Twin Arch, whereas really the intent is maybe another Nor break or some large, right? That's what you don't want to see something like Twin Arch there. You want to see.
Well, again, what I think, and I'm not speaking for myself, I'm speaking for other business owners, other property owners, we want to see something that complements the existing community, both residential and commercial. It's
Right.
not going to cannibalize. If we start introducing, again, we haven't seen this in final form, but if this is left unchecked, then you would just have another shopping center out there and another office,
Okay,
another park there, so then you've got vacancy over here.
Understood. So I just wanted to reiterate what you said to make sure I understand. I'll tell you at least my position from council, and there are other councilmen here as well. My position from council, two fundamental principles. We never do anything at all to endanger downtown, period, end of sentence. If we're going to do something up there that endangers our downtown, to me, it's dead. The second fundamental kind of principle I'm looking at is, from a town perspective, that parkland up there for free, that fulfills a real serious recreation need of the town. But that's just my opinion. So I just want to make sure I understand what.
I agree with both of them.
Can I make two comments, if I may? Number one is, if you want to take the commercial uses out of this, at least from our perspective, but leave it like a percentage of square footage or something of that nature, so that you can still have some commercial in a building, or a percentage of the park can be somewhat commercial, just to service the park, that wouldn't be objectionable. But I'm looking through it and I'm saying, where are you seeing the commercial uses that you're objecting to? Because I'm not seeing that many.
Well,
I'm sorry.
we're not
I
going to
don't-
do that, right?
Right, I was going to suggest suggest two things. Number one, I don't think yet, this is the first time I think we've had somebody from IDA here really, which is great, this is a good opening. So I wouldn't suggest we start diving down into the details of the OPE, because we're not going to get anywhere, but.
I'm ready to wrestle on the map.
So that's number one. But number two is what I will suggest, and I'm sure the chair will suggest the same, sorry, that the next stages will be to have someone from IDA here talking directly with planning, starting to work out some of those particulars.
The subcommittee has had,
Understood, which is a
We've
beginning
had-
point, but
right.
now, I think we're now at the point where our master plan's finished, Harrison LaShire is in the outer annexation boundary, so it's now legal for us to annex it, because if it's not in the plan, we can't annex it.
correct,
It's now in the plan.
correct.
But we've done that, and the subcommittee has formed a document that's a basis for discussion, and now.
And Frank's been part of that, though, from IDA.
Right, good. But now we're kind of getting to the point where now, just as we did with the master plan and the council and planning sat together and went back and forth, perhaps representatives from the IDA sit with this commission to start that same exact process, because it worked well in the master plan. I think that's where we're going.
Okay, so,
toward.
okay, I'm more than,
And that clarification is appropriate too, because one of the things we're about to launch is a Highway 27 corridor study, which is going to help us better understand the whole frame of reference for 27, especially through the town boundary, for us to have more clarity on the vision that IDA has for the property, as well as our own vision. That's going to help us in terms of that study too.
and let me, one of the things that is beneficial with working with the IDA is that we have a good relationship with the state, Office of Economic Development and the Department of Transportation. We can, there's a good working relationship there, so that we can get State Highway to contribute funds to certain projects that, and
That's good.
You can twist their arm a
No,
lot
no.
harder than we can.
No, there is if they see an economic development aspect of it that's beneficial, they're receptive to listening. So, I don't know if it means they're going to contribute funds or anything like that, but they're certainly, they work with us whenever they can. So that's a good working relationship that,
Good. Good, yes.
I mean, really, my concern really is that, and I'm for something to happen. It's gonna benefit every taxpayer, every business owner, every property owner, but not at the expense of other property owners and taxpayers. And that's the biggest thing that I'm concerned with.
I welcome that.
This should be something that augments
Okay.
the existing.
What kind of business do you?
I'm a residential and commercial developer.
We've been fighting for years.
It took me 20 years to build one project.
But,
Well, I thought you were a restaurant owner or something.
No, but I own the building next door here.
but Rob, I mean, to your point, I think, and again, I'm just speaking from my perspective on council, I think you've always seen the council do everything it can and everything to protect the businesses in downtown. I mean, it's the part of our community. And, I mean, Bob, I mean, Peter, I mean, we've always done that. And I think the council's well aware of making sure we don't do anything to endanger downtown.
We're not trying to poach any business. And there'll be no benefit to the economic development of taking a business from one location and moving it to another, or taking the business, or
Agreed.
As long as everybody's aware.
Okay.
Agreed, and that's how we should structure this document.
In fact, one of the things that was brought to our attention is the restaurant aspect of it. It was conveyed to the IDA that they didn't want to take away from businesses from local restaurants. And that as a consequence, there was somebody suggested that only large restaurants be allowed in this facility. So we came up with the language that said,
That's what happens when I try not to speak.
okay.
Wait a minute, can you repeat that?
We were told that small restaurants, under 3,000 square feet were not a good idea for the park to have. And we suggested the larger,
You are absolutely right,
and now
because
we're being told differently.
where we started was delis
Okay?
for like your amenities,
Yeah.
for your employment. Employees or, people need to be able to get a quick sandwich and eat at their desks.
Right.
Not that that's healthy, but that happens. Where the discussion turned was that restaurants were needed, that the IDA was saying that standalone restaurants were necessary in this park. And then, you got daggers in your eyes when I said that. Good job, Bob. So that was, we're trying to work together to get a draft that everybody can swallow. It wasn't interpreted to you exactly correctly, if that is how it was
Well, the point I'm trying to make
fed
is
to
we were
you.
trying to be responsive.
Right, we would be fine without standalone restaurants. So if that's not
Without-
something,
Absolutely.
so
No standalone
no
restaurants.
standalone restaurants.
Again, back to Chris's point, there's a lot of details in here that we talked about last
Well-
time that need to be drilled down.
And I think we've had a productive enough discussion tonight. We can see how we build on it, with more detail, perhaps with Mr. Liburn involved, either with our subcommittee or with us with the larger group here. I wanted to see if the other council members had any questions or any input they wanted to share. Mayor?
I just hear industrial getting beat up pretty bad here. Bill, you've been to my shop, I think Chris, you have too. In 1967, my father built a one-story brick building. Very next door neighbor is the first house on the block. We have a relationship with the neighborhood. When those people go away on vacation, they ask me to watch their fish, not the people that live across the street. We babysit the fish while they're on vacation. So business is not always adversarial to, or light industrial, it is a machine shop. A guy came up and he said, I've lived down here can I use your parking lot this weekend? And I said, yes. He said, I live down here, I've been here for 11 years and I have no idea what you have in here. And I said, well, come on in and look.
Good.
So, there's not always this adversarial thing between manufacturing or industrial and the neighbors.
There's different kinds of mixed use.
I'm sorry. I respect you.
I'll slap you so.
There's huge incompatibilities, and what may work in Rockville or Wheaton is not gonna work in
But
Mount
you know what, it does work, and I'll tell you how, Pat. It does work. The flex space is called out in here, okay? But the way the flex space is written in this document, it opens up commercial again. But if you limited the flex, just like Liberty Exchange, they've got nice flex space in the back. It's planned well, so it doesn't hurt the neighborhood.
Yeah.
But you could
I
have
think
a
that is
machine
a-
shop in that building, and you could have a physical therapy next door. So the point is that they can work if it's done right.
Let me say in general, because I get the calls from the neighbors that are upset because they have this going on here, or this going on here. It does not work well, I go on the
With
call.
residential, I
Right.
believe, the dissimilar land uses.
Well, can it? Sure, and in Bob's case, anybody as nice as Bob and his father, I'd love to have a house right next door myself.
But as far as the park's concerned, this OPE could address
Oh,
that
yeah.
without opening the door to 100,000
It's
square
all
foot
the design,
manufacturing.
it's how you burn,
Yeah.
it's how you shield it.
Pat, I've seen, to Bob's point, I've seen, and especially you mentioned Knorr, German manufacturer, I've seen extensively throughout Europe, when it's designed properly in the European model, you have large shops like that right next to schools and industrial areas, and to your point,
Yeah,
when it's
Europe's
designed properly, it is compatible.
Design is key.
More to the point, I'm latching on to Mayor Pat's question I'm using because I can't get in trouble for that. When Mayor Pat was talking about uses already in the county, you mentioned the air park. Now, if anybody's going to go on a field trip, I don't know that Mr. Minash wants to use that as the vision or example
No, I don't.
for, I just wanted to
Yeah.
because I think what you would have in mind is something a bit more upscale
Well,
architecturally.
look at Knorr Break, which is across the street.
It is a
Okay, now recognize,
significant,
yeah. But what I,
yes, difference.
and what I'm hearing you say is that you don't object to the development of the Harrison Lightyear Park, but you don't want it to be at the expense of.
Correct.
And so and you see this as being too broad.
Yes.
Okay, and I don't object to that. I don't take any issue with that.
I might even buy one of the pads from you if it fits right.
I think you would find that's the same for the
Okay.
town council.
Oh, I will say that, and part of the deal is
Yeah.
the water allocation for the park. We don't have so much water. We're gonna be limited to the amount of water for the whole park. So that's going to dictate significantly, things like restaurants and hotels and, anything that's a large water consumer, because that is not going to be compatible for our purposes, because we have limited water availability.
Okay, good. All right, this has been productive. This has been
Well, thank you.
a good initial
Next
discussion.
time you're gonna come, you get on time.
If you would, Isaac, go back and speak with Mr. Liburn. I think maybe the next discussion would be to have some dialogue with him, either through our subcommittee or through this group.
Sure.
All right,
I'll extend the invitation.
good. Thanks again.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
very
We really
much.
appreciate it.
Thank you,
you for your
Mr.
time.
Nash.
And thank you for your hospitality.
Oh,
And be certain to go next door and eat some dinner. Okay.
Yes.
A restaurant less than 3,000 square feet.
I really think that we have good intentions and the best interests at heart. And I don't think that anything that the IDA does is in any way intended to undermine or create any kind of problems for anybody. But any kind of development does have its issues. Every kind of use has some adverse effects. Everything is not the panacea. And what you'll find that.
Well, it sounds like both of us have a strong desire to find a middle ground.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Thanks so much.
Fabulous.
Okay. Good. Yes, sir. Sure. Is this an addendum to your,
Yes,
Can-
this
okay,
is one
all right, good.
added to what I said earlier. I had forgotten to mention, if the town of Mount Airy wants to do any water or sewer projects, it's directed more to this side, but if you are looking to do any water and sewer projects that maybe aren't in the water and sewer plan, or that you need to go forward and get a permit from MDE, if you need a clarification, a letter of clarification saying that the town is okay in the water and sewer master plan, you can work with our office. So there is one of the municipalities who is trying to get funding for their enriched nutrient removal upgrade to their water and sewer master plan. So they asked how they were in accordance with the master plan, and the MDE was able to provide them with a letter of clarification saying that their municipality did not have any restrictions and their part was approved. You look like you have a question.
Yeah, can you get us a letter exempting us from the rain tax?
Yeah, no, sorry. And lastly, I want to introduce Nicomas Ford. She is our new planning technician in our office, so she's here tonight with me so that I could introduce her. In addition to that, she came with us when we came down to talk with Heather earlier this week about the Joint Planning Commission meeting. So she's it's her week of Mount Airy. So.
Great.
Sorry.
Great.
Thank you.
They wouldn't let me mentor her for a week, I don't know why, but.
Okay. And we don't have Tim with us tonight, so,
No, he couldn't make the snow date, but
No.
he's looking forward to be here February 23rd, I believe it
Alright.
is.
good. Do reinforce with Tim our goals here to start dialogue with the Frederick County Planning Group as well.
Absolutely.
Carol.
Tim and I have talked about it, I just haven't, I haven't talked to Mr. Google, so.
Okay, all right.
I'll see him at the office tomorrow. He's coming to our
Oh,
office.
good.
Okay.
All right, then let's move to approval of minutes. Has everyone taken a look at the November 13th minutes? Okay. Lisa and I have massaged the rough draft a bit. How did it read to you? Are you,
Well done as
is it
always.
okay?
Fabulous.
All right. Then, is there a motion to accept the minutes as is? As presented?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. All right. Motion made by Chris and seconded by Judy to approve the November 13 minutes. Okay. Then let's, before we,
Did you want to call it?
Hmm?
Did you want to vote on it? Do we vote on it?
all those in favor, let them by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign? Thank
I
you,
abstain. I wasn't here.
Okay. All right. Then, let's step down to citizen comments. If there's anyone in the audience that wants to speak to something that's not on the agenda tonight, this would be a good time to do so. We'd invite you to come up to the podium. And no one is stepping forward. Okay. Then, we'll move on to sign permit review. We have one sign permit.
We do, and
Submission
I
tonight.
apologize, we don't have an overhead, and I apologize. But we have a sign proposal for a Lure hair design, and they are at our Main Street Ileano Plaza at 1311 South Main Street. And their submittal is attached, and it's channel set letters on the raceway, consistent with all of the other signage. The signage proposed is 14.10 square feet, and as you will see in the chart,
Yeah.
chart provided, this uses up most of,
Right.
we'll just say all of their allotted signage. One thing I did want to point out, that staff is working with the owners of the building. You will see that the sign basically interferes with the guttering.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we are addressing that. If the guttering needs to be removed or relocated in any way, we will work with that, but we want to make it symmetrical throughout the entire building.
Guttering?
I'm sorry, what did I say?
No.
Guttering? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what?
like
Rain spouts?
Drain
Yeah,
spout.
no, you're right.
Guttering, yes.
Well,
Let
that's
me
a drain
get the word
spout.
up, so, gutter.
Guttering, yeah.
Guttering's good.
I was concerned at what word came out of my mouth for a minute.
No, I
so,
wasn't sure
yes.
if you were talking about, you wanted all the signs symmetrical.
No,
or
no,
guttering.
the guttering.
Got
I'm
it.
sorry.
Okay, no, perfect. Okay.
Yes.
So is the building, all three of those windows, or how big is their,
It's actually an internal space.
oh, okay.
Yeah, we get into, in this building, they
Okay.
have some internal
It
units.
is kind of an awkward, isn't
Yeah,
it?
the other thing I wanted to, I don't know why they put it there. I don't know why it couldn't be better placed in between the two
Well,
rain.
Can you
Yeah,
ask them
because
to
you
do
know,
that?
I was
Rain
just
spouts.
in there, and I swear it's all 3 windows, because she just expanded.
Okay, yeah,
So
so,
I think it would look
then
better.
it wouldn't
In the
interfere with
middle.
the downspouts.
Yeah,
yeah,
and it
so
would
if
make sense, because then it's
it
the
does
whole-
not,
And if it's the last sign
really
in
is
terms
like
of,
it balances out.
yeah. But
I'm not certain why
Well-
they put it right where the gutter was. I can tell you that the person who typically does our, does the photo representations for the company, did not do this one. So I'm thinking it's supposed to be
Maybe
in the
it's wrong.
middle. So if we could, if we could get an approval for the sign design as proposed, but perhaps shifting it in between the 3 windows,
Yeah.
I would be comfortable with that.
I gotta believe from a construction perspective,
I
they're gonna
do
move it
too.
anyway.
I
Well-
know, Councilman Ivers, I don't like to assume anything,
Oh.
but I'm,
From prior history, understood.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's why.
so yes, we will ensure it's centered and symmetrical, regardless. I wish I could give you more information as to
Well,
why
we
it's
would,
proposed.
we would encourage that follow-up and that recommendation from town
Yes.
staff. Is there a motion to support the staff recommendation, that is approval of the current sign permit application with design and building materials proposed?
That's my turn. Okay, I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve the sign permit application with the design and building material proposed, and recommend that the sign be shifted to the middle,
Centered.
yeah, the center of the building.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
All right. Motion made by Patty and seconded by Leslie. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, let me know by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. And it's unanimous. All right.
Could I ask a question about signs in general? Now that the master plan is complete,
Yeah.
I knew one of the concerns from the last council liaison, Councilman Strong, was that there was a sign ordinance here and we didn't want it to get dropped. And I told Councilman Strong I'd make sure it didn't get dropped, so just as a mention that, now the master plan is complete,
Well,
perhaps.
that remains the intent. I think the priority is, well, in my opinion, our 2 new ordinances. So substantial completion of MXD and the OPE, and then supporting the town engineer and getting the corridor study out there.
And
Didn't he say, though, that it was pretty much done, it was just needing to go through a process, I mean, we're.
Well,
Actually-
it's not actually
It's-
completely
It's not ready to
done.
go.
No, because we have an issue with the political signs that we
Well,
have to
but the draft,
resolve.
wait a minute, there is a recommendation from the planning commission for the revised language of the entire ordinance. It was the draft that Councilman Strong And I went through and said these were the critical elements.
That's true.
Okay?
And it
It is
stripped it
actually
down
at the town
and
council
compressed it.
level now.
Right.
The reason it hasn't been acted on at the town council level is because we need a work session. So the next step is that I'll work with our council president to have a work session to bring the town council up to speed with what has been proposed in the first rewrite of the critical sign elements. And Leslie, you're absolutely correct that when they go back, and it'll be part of the critical elements. So, but it's at the town council level, so
Okay.
the planning
Right,
commission need not
Good
be concerned
clarification.
with it right now.
So I'm to blame.
No,
Well, I just didn't want to
No,
get
it's-
it
but that's an
back.
important clarification.
Right back at you, Chris.
no, but you are making sure that the ball isn't dropped.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
so you can do that in
Lisa,
council.
a couple of months ago, she began preparing for our work session with the town council, but the intent was to get the master plan out of the way.
Okay.
So perhaps sometime mid-February,
Sure.
we'll have
That's
a work session with the
Okay,
town.
yeah,
good.
no hurry, I just want to make sure it didn't
That's
get
good.
dropped, and it's a good thing that, we got
Good.
it, because we said we would. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, good, excellent. No site plan submissions. So unfinished business subcommittee updates.
I'll give the OPE.
Oh, good.
No, I don't think there's a need to do that. Councilman Everett will, and Chairman Bill will work together to guide us further. Is that a correct?
Well, it sounds
Statement?
like that our next step is now maybe to have some discussion with their development people, and I guess that's Jack Lyman.
Jack Lyburn, do you want to invite them for the February 23rd meeting?
I think so.
Okay.
And, you know, maybe there's a site visit opportunity. Maybe there's also the opportunity to ask them, besides what has been designed and constructed, developed in Carroll County, are there other examples
Okay.
that they think, would also fit the vision?
Okay. So
Yeah.
we'll reach out and then define the discussion together of what we want to.
And then I think we got some feedback tonight that maybe in terms of our interpretation and our preferences in terms of permitted uses, and the subcommittee might be able to incorporate that and take another cut at it.
But could we also, sorry, Leslie.
I actually wanted to address the lack of the master plan at Harrison last year, just because, and I mean, it does go way back when this all first came up. And I remember Monica specifically saying, oh, but you're going to be able to create a master plan and have complete control over, what's going on
That was the very
here.
essence of the definition of what employment campus was. That was actually in one of the very first definitions, the draft, one of the earliest OPE draft had the definition of an employment campus of a master planned development. So
Okay.
that was definitely a change.
And
yes.
whatever, and of course, you, and I was sick last time, so I don't know how much it was discussed, but I don't know if the subcommittee, I guess you guys have a lot of information on this now and that you can give to us, or you already gave to, I mean, I got, we
think
know what
that
he
the-
said, but it's all rather
subcommittee-
vague, other than the goal of having high-paying jobs.
Yeah, I think
Which
the
I concur
subcommittee
with.
worked to define the uses that would be, that the IDA seemed to, I don't want to put need, but what the IDA conveyed that they were interested
Right.
in, while limiting what we felt the town wanted. Lindy's the chair of that of the subcommittee, but do you feel that it's time to just bring it forward as a full planning commission discussion? Because we've met a lot, and.
We've met a lot, and we've gotten really mired in the gunk and details, and now seeing that they have they're that wasn't the message we ever got from.
Yeah, I think it's time to open it up.
Right, well, I was
Well,
going to
he wasn't
suggest.
very well informed in certain aspects,
Well, right, so.
just, there was a
Isaac
misunderstanding.
He's the lawyer,
Like,
he's just
yeah,
representing
yeah,
the position.
yeah, right.
What I was going to suggest is, it sounds like to me, it's now time to just bring the negotiators from the IDA, the people.
Yeah, the people
authorized
who
to
really
direct,
know what's going
meet
on,
with
right?
the planning commission, so
Yeah.
perhaps, and perhaps next meeting you set aside an hour. Here's an hour where the planning commission will work with the IDA, go back and forth on ideas. And if we don't finish in an hour, fine, carry it to the next, but I think it's time to, I guess, what's the word, break it open. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
mean that things have been going on in secret, of course, but
No, well,
the IDA is clearly ready to negotiate.
Well,
We're prepared
Add some
somewhat.
detail and clarity to the discussion, might as well talk correctly with them. I mean, I get the sense that there's a modest amount of their vision that's come to pass so far. So I think they're working as much conceptually as we are. Okay, I think that's one thing. And then in terms of the percentages that Isaac was talking about tonight, there's a lot of green space. And those are low percentages for 128 acres. I would
Did
love
he say
to.
28?
14%.
Yeah, because he said 28, but then he said half is what they were really
Yeah,
looking at, right?
yeah.
Okay.
So if that's the case, if we can confirm that, that may take away some of the concern we had about density. Okay?
Right.
And just a plethora of buildings out there
Right.
in what's now beautiful open agricultural space.
And I'm still trying to
But
figure out
we
their
need to-
role versus our role
We
and
need to
and
know those
actually
things.
what the development would look like and what their,
Well, that remains.
I mean, so how much say they have in.
Right. And that's sort of what I was getting at with that whole master plan thing. It's sort of
Right,
like, there's one thing, which is what type of businesses do you want? But there's another thing is, what's it gonna look like?
What's it gonna look
Yeah.
like, and
Yeah.
you seem to be inconsistent.
Well, he doesn't know.
No, I don't think
I don't think he
he's
knows.
inconsistent. Remember, he's the lawyer.
Yeah, he doesn't, he
Yeah.
didn't
He's the
know.
lawyer
He's
representing the ID, just
Yeah.
as we sent Tom to represent the town.
Right,
Yeah.
he's just
He
gonna look
can-
at the details of the agreement, he doesn't have the
Yes,
vision.
he can set the stage,
Right.
so that's why
It's a
I'm
legal
recommending.
process for him.
Right, I'm
Right,
recommending
that's
that
why
we
we
now
need
bring
the
the
people who
IDA
know
negotiators
stuff.
in, talk
I
Yeah.
think that's
to us.
great.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then,
Yeah.
I guess if you're,
Yeah.
if the commission's okay for my part, the next council meeting, I'll ask the council just if they have some high-level guidance. I mean, you've heard my position this evening. A, do nothing to damage downtown, and B, from council, I want the, what is it, how many acres, 80 acres?
80, it's 80 acres,
I want
yes.
the 88 acres
For
for
recreation.
rec facilities, because that's a constant need. I'll ask the council if they have any high-level guidance. I'm sure you'll, hear that and maybe other things that
Yeah,
I can bring
Let's do it.
forth that we can work with.
yeah, bring it back.
So can we disband the OPE subcommittee at this time?
Please
I
do.
think we've exhausted our, well, I think we've exhausted our.
Lindy, just say the word.
Yes, it's dead.
Yes, good.
Okay.
Or we're just gonna expand it to include everybody, whatever.
You're all get caught now.
Yeah, you're gonna drag us in.
All right.
Try to
No,
run.
Y'all got us,
Good.
but y'all got us really
Well, that's
far
it.
down the road.
Well, and I've been looking at this thing for how many years?
It's-
I'm ready to, like, let's get it done.
Right, but without the
She's gonna
basis
have
of what y'all have
Yeah.
done, it'd be really hard to get moving.
Yeah, we're
Kill
driving the
Frank.
bus now. Okay, MXD?
I got nothing. Sorry, I was sick. I was at the last meeting. Did you guys talk about it?
We
I finally got what you,
talked about
oh,
it,
so why don't you give the briefing?
Well,
Your ears were burning.
at our last work session, we had a really good discussion about some examples and of MXD, and Jennifer had some great examples that she forwarded me. So MXD means a lot of different things depending on the area that you're in. We went through what type of MXD projects that would be suitable for us to consider for the town. And we determined that the approach for the ordinance isn't going to be form-based, which is basically just dealing with the physical form, and it's not going to be our conventional zoning or Euclidean zoning. It's going to be a hybrid. One of the things that came up, and Mr. Scranton was really instrumental because of his experience in one of the projects that he worked on in Sykesville, it was Raincliff.
Oh, yeah, I was at that meeting.
Yeah,
months ago.
our work session,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely. And he mentioned, the pattern book that's required.
Right.
And one of the things that Judy, I believe, said that our MXD is going to rely more so on process than prescribing setbacks in here and there. So what we need to do is our subcommittee does need to get back together.
Yeah, we need to meet, because we have this ongoing discussion about that, where Rob Scranton and I guess Judy and whoever else wants it to be less prescribed, and I get very concerned about that and say, well, then how do you
And we're getting
enforce?
a little
Yeah, how do
closer
you
to
defend
that.
it?
How do you enforce?
Yeah.
What are the rules?
How do you
How are you
regulate?
consistent? And so
It's so
we have to keep talking about that, yeah.
Yeah, it's because we're so used to prescribing everything, setbacks, bulk
Yeah, yeah,
requirements,
yeah.
every single solitary thing. We've gone through and our draft includes the preferred uses, so we did great at that.
Yeah.
Now we have to figure out the processes.
Right.
And Roxanne is now back from Hawaii, so we can.
That's why you're
we
looking
can-
so good and
We can
well-rested.
meet soon.
Woo-hoo.
So we'll be
All right, so I'll
working
send something
together.
out.
Yeah,
Okay.
but we did miss you, and.
I missed you.
And so
I
that
got to
is,
sleep.
She
that
didn't
is
miss
our
us.
update. I
No,
did
no,
too, I always
Roxanne.
miss you.
No,
No,
you
no.
missed
Oh.
Roxanne.
Roxanne was sitting on the beach in Maui. She didn't miss
Well, I
us.
drank a Mai Tai.
There you
Oh,
go.
okay, all right, yeah, she just went to Maui, as she says it,
She was
just
thinking
Maui.
about us, I'm sure.
Would it help to speed that discussion along if you actually try to think of examples of the properties that we think either are currently slated for MXD or could be,
Yeah, we've actually
We've
already
done that.
gone through
and
that.
some of the
We've done that.
nuances
Yeah.
of it?
We've done that.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're really,
Great.
we know the where and the
I think it's more
what,
of
we
a
need to do the
philosoph-
how.
Yeah, it's just, yeah,
Yeah, so we're,
deciding, yeah. So I didn't really miss anything.
yeah, I'm proud of us. So, yeah, we do need to get together and figure out the how, and then I think
Yeah.
we'll be able to come forth and present a document to you.
Okay, so what, I'm not putting you on the spot, but
What's next?
it sounds general to me. Over the next 6 weeks, 2 months, what's the goal? What do you think
I'd
is the next
like
step?
to have a final document no later than mid-March. That would allow
It's
us,
probably doable.
yeah,
2 months, okay. All right, cool. Barney Carter study, it's ready to be
It's
released.
been advertised
Already?
and as noted here, and proposals due, actually, I think it's the 19th. We started with the 17th and we changed it.
I can't keep up with you, I
No,
apologize.
sorry.
Okay. All right. Do we need to lobby the council in any regard in support of this project?
We may, when the proposals come in, Councilman
Yeah.
Everidge,
Okay.
we may need to lobby for a budget amendment, but it's premature to anticipate that now.
Every time I go up there and ask
See
them
what
for
comes
money,
back.
they put my head on a pike pole.
That's okay, that's
That's
why we
happened a
have
couple-
you.
Well, we could just go ahead and make the call and say, he's gonna be up there again, Rick.
Sharpen the pole.
We'll be right behind you.
Okay.
Very good.
All right. Very good. Well, we look forward to what comes back on that, Barney. The new business, ordinance 2015-1.
I am very excited about this, Mr. Chair. It's the first new ordinance of the year.
And this is a pretty speedy response to the recommendation we had as a result of
Lot
the
32.
situation, yeah. Lot
Yeah,
32.
so, right, so I introduced this into council last session. The goal is to plug I'll just call it what it is, plug a loophole. First of all, the goal is to plug the loophole where, okay, we're putting that car there, but we're storing it, we're not parking. But while they're busy telling us what they're doing, by mistake, they mention, well, we're parking it. Gosh, okay, so it plugs that, and then it also addresses the grading issue. So council sent it here, there were no comments from the council. Council sent it here for referral. If we could approve it tonight, that'd be great. Unless folks object or need more time to study or we need changes.
It's, my reading of it was almost verbatim to the recommendations that we had in terms of both the grading and the impervious surface.
Yep.
Because you could be talking about a long-term storage of the vehicle, and the fluids could be leaching out, and then you've got the groundwater issue and all of that. So, I would recommend that we move forward with this and it be accepted as drafted and proposed to the council. All right, is there a second? Okay. Then I made the motion and it's seconded. Jennifer?
Any
We approve.
Any changes anybody wants to bring up? Oh,
Not seeing it, all right.
excellent. I want to get this one through.
Okay,
First one,
good.
please.
Then, motion's been made and seconded to approve this draft for ordinance 2015-1. And that it be presented as soon as possible to the council.
It's actually on the agenda for Monday.
All those in favor, let it know by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. And it's unanimous.
I guess by point of reference to the commission, if folks see other areas of the code involving planning that need to be massaged, plugged, holes plugged or whatever, please let me know. I mean, the reason why we got this one is because we clearly recognize the problem and wanted to fix it. So if there's others, aside from political sign, yeah, I mean, just let us know. We'll take care of it. Thank you.
Do we see a need to have another planning commission work session between now and our next regular meeting? Anybody see a need for that? I don't know that we have one. Do we?
I don't, I would say yes, if we had a lengthy agenda for February 23rd, but as it stands, I have no agenda items, so we can dedicate our meeting to the OPE.
Okay.
So, yeah, and it's looking that it will be that way for March as well, so we can really take advantage of this time.
Perfect, wonderful.
Payback finally.
So the last Monday in February is when?
The 23rd
Okay.
at 7 p.m.
Yeah, we might have time to do this.
Okay.
Not for January, the minutes has about.
All right.
Okay. I'll have to follow up, sir.
I
Okay.
haven't gotten, well, January's not over yet, technically.
Yeah.
Does that, anyone know of a conflict they may have with that? Does that work for most of us on the 23rd?
Well, it has to.
Hopefully no snow.
Hopefully not.
If we do have inclement weather, I will probably build in February 24th
Okay.
as a snow date, if that's okay with you, Chairman.
Okay, that's fine. Fine. Do we have a zoning administrator report?
I do not believe we have one for January, and I
Your
apologize.
minutes represent down to
Okay.
December. January's not technically over yet, but
Yeah.
we do not have one for January yet.
Okay. One thing I might mention, Heather and I have just touched on it briefly. As we're transitioning essentially from producing the master plan to beginning to generate some traction on implementing it, it may make sense to reconvene at least some representation of the various commissions, okay, to bounce the whole implementation effort off of them and involve them productively in that. I know that Heather is going to be sketching out some preliminary thoughts on implementation and maybe first steps and that sort of thing, but there's clearly a role that all the commissions, including us, but the others, could play in that. The fact that we reached out and that we asked for their input and they were just very responsive and very productive in that regard, it helped, I think, a better quality plan.
Absolutely.
Why not continue to have that going forward as we get into the implementation phase? So that could be a possibility. And to Lindy's point, we would control those discussions and get together, so it was productive as possible.
Well, you know, I mean, I know it cost the town money, but that one meeting we had at Lorenzo's, that was really, really useful too.
Yeah.
Well, and
That's what we were
in the
thinking
works,
about.
yeah.
That
Yeah.
was great.
Yeah,
I mean, it was just too long,
Yeah.
but it was great.
Yeah.
It was in June. Do we want to plan for
Oh, I think we probably could do it earlier than that.
You wanna
It-
do
it-
like-
It might be an early,
like April?
early to
or-
mid, yeah,
Okay.
spring kind of a thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll start looking for opportunities.
Okay, I think maybe the last thing on our agenda tonight is something we should have done last November, but we had an extremely long meeting that month, so
Yeah,
we
we
ran out of time, okay? We need to have our election of officers for 2015, okay? So, first order of business is, who wants to be vice chair for 2015?
And nominations?
Any
Ask
nominations?
for nominations for vice chair?
I'll nominate Lindy.
Are you willing to continue in that role?
As long as I don't get sick by head colds or things like that, yes.
All right,
And
Yeah.
leaky houses.
then I would nominate Lindy to continue as vice chair.
Okay. And
Second.
Yeah.
Second?
Okay, any other nominations? All those in favor of Lindy as our vice chair, let me know by saying aye. Aye.
By acclamation.
All opposed? It is by acclamation. Okay,
Bill, I'm sorry, could you, Chairman Butts, could you tell me who seconded that? I couldn't see.
Leslie.
Oh, okay.
Leslie.
Okay, thank you.
okay. And that leaves us with nominations for chair.
Then,
Well,
uh,
no, you said nominate.
Go ahead.
Can I nominate Bill?
Yep, I second.
Yeah.
Maybe one more year. Okay, I'd be willing.
If there are
Any other nom-
if there are no other nominations, then it's by acclamation.
There you go.
All those in favor? All opposed? I recuse myself. All right, one more year. Okay, anybody got anything else?
It's kind of an early adjournment, though.
No, you guys have got to come by.